Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Um,
Oh, okay,
my
cool.
mom's waiting in the thing to join.
Okay, let's get her in here and then get this other person. Hallelujah. Welcome back, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to you who are here live with me and those who are on the live stream. I want to welcome you back to Absolute Knowledge of the Torah. I praise the Most High Yah today for this Shabbat. It is a wonderful opportunity to be alive and to see the things that we've been seeing with our very eyes about what's happening in the world. I do want us to understand that learning or coming to class is a great opportunity for you to expand your horizons and expand your understanding. And if indeed you are learning, it's because the Most High has given you the opportunity to learn. And if you are understanding, it's because that's the gift that the Most High has given to you. Everyone is not going to get this. They're not going to get it. They're not going to understand it. Okay. And even those who don't understand it, I heard a teacher say that even those who don't understand it, even if they obey, because sometimes we're learning about things that we don't even understand. We're reading things that we have no clue about what they really mean, right? So we're just going through the motions. And I don't understand everything. And I don't know everything. And that's just the truth. That's just the truth. I'm on a journey of learning. I'm on a journey of humility. I'm humbling myself in different ways so I can get more. And so, based on that, the Most High is letting us know that, look, there's things that you're not going to know. There's things that are not going to be revealed to you. But He says the things that are revealed to you in order for you to keep the Torah. So, there's some secret things. There's some things that we just don't understand. But it doesn't mean, even if you don't understand it, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it and you shouldn't obey it. We don't understand all the dynamics behind the Shabbat. We weren't there when Yah created the Shabbat. He just told you that you should keep it. We don't have to understand it in order to keep it. Just obey it. Because that right there shows that, hey, I'm obedient to you. I'm going to trust what you said, and I'm humble enough to go along on this journey until I discover what it is that you want to show me. The Most High is testing us. He's testing us in all different types of ways. The test is not just what a false prophet. The test is not just the New Testament. The test is whether or not you and I are going to trust him, whether or not you and I are going to stay on the path that he has prescribed. And we're going to learn a little bit more about that today. Okay. So you and I are on a path and we're walking on this path. We're traveling together. Um, you know, Sometimes we do it together. Sometimes, we might be alone. We might be left behind a little bit, but then we have to catch up. Some of us are running ahead, but it doesn't mean that's a bad thing. It means that we're still on the same path. Okay. And I think that's what's important here is that we are all on the same path and we're not all gonna understand everything. We're not all gonna get it at the same time. It takes years. It might take someone years to get an understanding. The Most High might even not even answer our question until the time that he sees that it's necessary to answer that. Or irregardless to what has been spoken, he wants to know whether or not you and I are just going to do what he says. That's why I have a lot of, I think, passion when I'm talking is because I'm thinking it about myself and what it is I need to do. I need to internalize what the Most High has said, and I want to do that, and I'm going to do it um, because that's what I want to do, right? So we only do what we want to do. Does that make sense? We only do what we really want to do. We don't do anything that we don't want to do. We don't eat what we don't want to eat. We don't say things that we just don't want to say. That's how it goes. So let's make sure that we don't, play a game with ourselves to try act like we really don't know what's going on. We know what's going on. We're doing what we want to do. Okay. So let's get into this teaching today and see what we can find. Okay. Um, so hallelujah. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So the last time we left off, the Most High was talking to Moshe, and he's still talking to him, and he's going to be talking to him for a long time. We haven't, he's still up on the mountain. He's still in the fire. He's still in a place in a different realm with the Most High, right? This is a 40-day period that we're talking about. And name of your Torah portion this week is called Te Tzaveh, okay? Te Tzaveh. Right here. Here's the Te right here. Te Tzaveh. Te Tzaveh, okay? The root of this word is right here, called Tzaveh, okay? That's the root of the word. I tell you the root because if I just say it, if I just say this word to you, explain to you what the root is, then it doesn't matter what I'm saying to you. It's like when we're having conversations, we have to have a main point. We have to have a aim or a desire to bring something out. There has to be some reason for speaking. There has to be a purpose for talking. There has to be a purpose for having conversation. There should always be some intent and some goal. I think often we waste our words because we're just talking to be talking, when we need to be looking or searching or questioning and asking, the right questions to find out what we need to do in order to gain some understanding. Okay. The first part of this word is you, okay, in Hebrew. Okay. And then he says, you, Tetzaveh, I want you to do something for me. Okay. This is what I want you to do. I want you to command the people. Right. So when we look at this from a Hebraic perspective, it's different than you just command. There's something significant about him telling him to do it, versus often we hear the Most High say, and you tell the people of Israel that I said. Okay. So he's not saying that. He's saying you command. Okay. You. Okay. And in Hebrew, it has the word you, and then it says, and then it goes to emphatically you. This is something that you're going to do. And I asked myself the question, well, why do you want him to do it versus you just going to speak to the children of Israel? It's simply because in the context of the study for the last couple of weeks, it was about Teruma. Remember, it was about the offerings that he was asking and requesting of the people. So those offerings were completely voluntary. It has to do with willingness. So when we're reading this week's Torah portion, it's not about, I'm going to command you to command them. Okay. It's not that. He's saying, I want you to go ahead and I need you to command the people, right? To let them know that this is what I'm expecting from you. So this command is different than a command from the Most High. I hope I'm speaking this correctly. That the Most High is saying, Moshe, you've asked the people, you're going to ask the people for the teruma, you're going to ask them for the willingness, you're going to ask them the people who have that type of mindset and that type of heart. So those are the individuals that I want you to command. I want you to command them. See, because if it came from the Most High as a command, then it's something that has to be given because it was commanded. Versus Moshe is commanding them, it could be to those who are able to listen to it. And I think that's the point. Okay. So when the Most High gives a command, there's no changing of it. It's not voluntary. That's my point. Okay. This command of you is to command them because you want to see if they're going to give something voluntarily. See, a command that's by the Most High is not asking you if it's going to be voluntary. So the Shabbat's not voluntary. It's not. It's a law that's there. Honoring your father and your mother. That's not voluntary. That's a law, regardless to if you want to do it or not. That's what it is. See, so this is different. So when we read, we have to get that understanding, and we need to take the time to do that. And then that's what he's showing us in this particular Torah portion. Okay, so it's something that he's asking for them to do, right? Um, the overview of this is just very simple. It's 3 points that I want to bring out, which is the purpose, the plan, and the people. The purpose of this Torah portion was to talk more about the priesthood. and talking about who it was that he chose. And as you read this week, you know that that's Aharon and his sons. And of course, anyone who comes after Aharon through his family, they're going to be the priests that the Most High has selected. Ultimately, because there is a plan. Okay. So there's always a purpose and there's always a plan. The plan is that the Most High wants to dwell with the children of Israel. Okay. And what he's saying is that in order for him to dwell with the children of Israel, there has to be a priesthood. You and I cannot dwell with the Most High without a priesthood because that would go against the structure, right? So there's a priesthood, right? And then he tells us that, guess what? This is what I want you to do. I want you to make a separation of the people. Like we saw, hey, the people that have the spirit of wisdom, talk to them. Don't talk to the people who are not interested, right? Talk to the people who have a willingness to want to do this, right? So it's the purpose, the plan, and the people. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that here in just a moment. All right. The first part that I want to discuss about Aharon and his sons is what was made for them, or is more specifically for Aharon. There was a breastplate that was made for Aharon, and it was used for judging. Okay, and they have a lot of different elements about it. How many stones it was, how it was supposed to be set. You had the dimensions of it. You had the colors that were supposed to be used. How it's supposed to be crafted by a skilled artisan and one who's going to make this in particular vest because Yah was interested in the priests having a very beautiful and noble garments when they're in service to him. And of course, we've been over the colors of, the purple and the scarlet and the blue, which is the Tekhelith, and we talked about that last week. And so I'm not going to deal with those areas today, but I do want to talk about the judgment, why it was important for him to have this vest on. Okay. The reason for this is simply because the Most High is letting us know that if I'm going to dwell with the children of Israel, there's going to be judgment. And there's always going to be a need for judgment. So this is not something that's just, like a day of judgment, hey, the whole earth is going to be burned up, or, the judgment that happened to the world and, with the water. This is more or less talking about the decisions that need to be made when Yahweh is dealing or dwelling with the people. Okay. So that's not only the purpose of the priesthood, but that's the plan. The plan is that when I live and dwell among the children of Israel, I need someone to stand in the gap between me and them, okay? Because I want to be able to make the decisions for the house of Israel. I want to make all the decisions for when there's a problem in the family. I want to make a decision when there's a problem between brothers and sisters. I want to make a decision when there's problems between a husband and wife. I want to make a decision when it comes down to, setting people free and slaves and their masters. See, so the purpose of Yah dwelling with us is in order to teach us about his judgments. And but also to the individuals that he has selected for this is only one family. There's only one family that he's chosen to do this. And that family is the family of Aharon and his sons. He didn't choose Moshe and his sons, he chose Aharon and his sons. Okay. Aharon is recognized what you would call a Kohen Hagadol, which is called the high priest. Okay. The Hagadol is one who's an abundant in power and authority. Okay. And the idea behind this is simply because someone has to be able to bear the burden. Someone has to carry something. Okay. Um, and they have to be strong enough to do it. And so the Most High had told us in our Torah portion this week that Aharon is the one who he has selected to carry the names of the sons of Israel on the breastplate, going back to the judgment, right? Going back to the one that's going to tell you what the judgment is for each one of these tribes. Each one of the children of Israel had their own specific stone, as you read. Um, and they also have what they call the Urim and the Thummim, which are the two stones. One was white and one was black. One was for the Urim has to do with light, and the Thummim has to do with perfection. So when they would come to make, a decision about the nation or about a tribe, and they wanted to get the information from the Most High, they would have to go to Aaron, and then Aaron would go before the Most High, and make a decision so he can give the perfect judgment, so he can bring light to the situation, right? So it wasn't magical. Basically, what it is it's a divine judgment. And that's, of course, why the Most High said, when once I make this judgment, there's no one who can go against it. If you go against it, then you have to face the penalty of number one, having contempt for the decisions that the Most High made, meaning that you see it differently than the way He sees it. Okay, so this breastplate was used for judging, and Aharon used to carry it into the tabernacle. And when he went in there, he went into the holy place, which I had there slash set apart because that was brought to my attention this morning by my Isha. She was like, sometimes, when we say the word holy, it doesn't pretty much open us up to really understanding what the Most High is talking about. I agree with her. Um, because our idea of being holy has been taught to us by people who are saying that something is holy when it's not. Okay. Holiness basically means to just be set apart. Okay. It means to be set apart from something else. It means something that is very distinct and different. Okay. So in this place that Aharon is going is set apart from all other places. Okay. It's set apart from I would say contamination. It's supposed to be. It's supposed to be set apart from, let me see what happened. Can you see my screen? What happened? Can you see
I
my
can,
screen?
we can see, we can see it. Yes.
Okay, let me
Yes.
see. Let me see. Something happened. All right. What
Here,
do
there it goes. Yes.
yeah. My apologies. Something happened. Okay. So here again, the set apart place, everyone, is a place that we had learned that it had to be sanctified. It had to be set apart. And the Most High is letting us know that I'm making a separation about where I'm going to live and where you live. I'm making a determination and a distinction between those who are able to approach me and those who are not able to approach me. Even though you and I are part of the children of Israel, some of us may be of this line, right? We might be of the priesthood line. Some of us may not be. And he's not saying that he doesn't love us. He's literally saying that I'm giving a family so that you guys can be able to approach me. Okay. And when these people come to approach me and they're coming to serve me, I'm going to be their inheritance. And they're not going to be able to have any inheritance because of the great responsibility that they have in the honor of being able to serve me. So this is for a separate people, right? And what this priest is supposed to do is bear the names of the children of Israel, no one else, right? So the 12 tribes, right? So the names of those families are put on this breastplate. The names of those family members are put on the shoulders of the priest. And so when he goes in there, it's going to be a reminder to the Most High that, hey, I've chosen Aharon out of the families, okay? And also too, that I'm going to remember the sons of Israel. Again, the idea is that Aaron is bearing something. All right. So it talked about the what they would call the I don't have it up here, but it talked about the gold plate of a crown that Aaron was supposed to put on his head, right? So this first part over here is dealing with the yes,
Hold up, it's not off yet. Go ahead.
Oh, Shabbat Shalom, my brother.
Shabbat
I
Shalom.
just I just wanted to ask you something that ties into what you're talking about. And I feel like if I ask you to clarify something to me. So when he says he want us to be holy because he is holy, that ties into this, right?
Mm. Yeah, it's absolutely. So, but there's levels of holiness, right? And what I mean by that is that in Leviticus chapter number 19, which you're making reference to, he said, "Be holy, for I am holy," right? He's showing us how we're going to become that. And what he's using the priesthood to show us how to do that and how to achieve that. And when they come to him, he's instructing them. When he's making decisions that for the children of Israel, that's a benefit for them to go to the priest in order to get their questions answered so that they can do what's right. So when the Most High is among us, we won't be going against his decisions, right?
Mm.
He's purifying the nation through the teaching from this family. That's what he's doing. That's the whole purpose of the priesthood. The priesthood was not to design a religion. So he's not looking to, give us a religion. This is where we're getting mixed up and we're getting confused because the people that have been teaching us have been telling us, well, this is the way they do it. This is the way the Christians do it. This is the way that the Muslims do it. So they have compartmentalized our what they would call our rituals or the ways that we do things, and they have now packaged it as a religion. But this is not a religion. You and I are not part of a religion. We're part of a relationship with the Creator. And so he has things that he's going to show us that can only be shown through the priest. So he's not going to instruct us in any type of judgments. Like, for example, the prophets weren't there to make judgments. They were just there as communication, handling communication, tell you what the Most High said. When there's issues of contamination or uncleanness, they have to go to the priest. If there was decisions that need to be made about whether or not someone would live or die, it had to go with the priest because that's who Yah chose, right? So when it talks about how Aaron is going to bear the guilt, he's bearing the guilt when he had that gold plate on his head that had the tekhelith, or what they call the blue, material that was used to put on top of his crown or his turban. It was there in order to, and it says kadosh to Yahweh, meaning set apart to Yahweh. He was only wearing that because he was supposed to bear the guilt and the errors that were committed by the people of Israel, not the guilt and the errors that were made that didn't have anything to do with their holy place. Meaning that when the children of Israel would come to the Most High and they would bring their holy consecrated gifts, their set apart gifts, like their offerings or their wheat or their wine or whatever it was, the manner in which they brought it, they could have brought along with those gifts and those contributions some sin. Maybe they did it while they were in uncleanness. Maybe they did it while they were angry at their brother. Maybe they did it in some type of way, right? Maybe it was something that they didn't even know that they did. Maybe that gift had, it had some kind of contamination and they didn't know it. So he's saying that the children of Israel are going to have guilt and they're going to make errors. So what are we to learn from this? Where he's telling us, and I want you to hear me very clearly, everyone. Errors are called shagaga or shagot, which I call shagaga, individual singular. That means that you're going to make an error. And because you made an error, it's automatically guilt. Okay, so now they're not guilty because they purposely done anything. These are accidents. So Yah's telling us that you and I will never be able to hit the perfection that we need outside of him making sure that someone that can bear your guilt for the mistakes that you make, in terms of not, listen to me carefully, not the mistakes that you're making outside of the set apart place. Remember, this is about the set apart place. He's not talking about, well, Aaron is going to bear the guilt for Akika because Akika did something outside of the tabernacle. No, Akika is the one who's going to have to bear that. And I'm going to show that to you. We're going to bear something. Like he's bearing something, we're going to bear something. Aaron is attached to the tabernacle. When it talked about the Day of Atonement and the people would have to come in for the Day of Atonement, Aaron had to make an atonement for himself and his household and for the nation as a whole for the errors that they have committed against the holy things of Yah. You understand? So anything that was supposed to be brought to him and it was in any type of error or, something was unclean about it, it was called guilt because you didn't know. So we can get guilt from things that we don't even know about when it pertains to the set apart place or the set apart gifts or anything that has to do with the set apart place. So when Yah's describing over the last few weeks here for us about the teruma and the things that you're going to use to exalt me, and this has to be a willingness, he's telling us, look, even if you bring these things to me, they're still going to have errors. They still had to be purified. There was still 7 days of purification just for the altar. It takes 7 days to purify the bronze altar, everyone. It takes 7 days for Aharon and his sons to go through a purification process. Why 7 days? Why not a quick fix? Why not just drink some blood and eat some flesh and all of a sudden you're made right? Because Yah has a process. 7 means perfection. It means to be complete. So in the context of what we're reading, he's letting us know that there is a sanctification process that has to do with the tabernacle. It has to do with Aaron and his sons. It has to do with all the vessels and the ornaments and the altars and the showbread table and all those things. The gold needed to be purified and sanctified. Even after it was burned and purified, it still needed to be sanctified. And along the way, Yah knows that you and I are human beings and that you and I are going to make errors that have to do with the tabernacle. I'm not talking about the errors that have to do with our personal lives outside. They would go to the tabernacle to bring their gifts, but when they brought their gifts could have been contaminated. And that was a problem for Yah. So he's letting us know that I'm not just going to accept any errors. Okay? That has to be atoned for. Even our errors, even our mistakes, they're not going to be overlooked. So he chose Aharon to bear the guilt for these errors and these mistakes in reference to the tabernacle. Aharon and his sons are to wear them, talking about the garments that they made, that the children of Israel, the ones with the willingness, who are supposed to make them garments. Aaron did not make these garments. His son didn't make these garments. Moshe didn't make these garments. The individuals that were going to be responsible for making these garments are the ones that we learned about last week, who had a willingness to participate in giving Yah an offering, to exalt him. Why? Because Yah wanted them to be an active participant in the process of joining them to the tabernacle. So the tabernacle has to be something that has to be of a group effort between the people and the Elohim giving them the instructions on how he wanted them to carry out. It is his house that he wants them to participate in. Aaron and his sons are to wear them the garments when they go into the tent of meeting and when they approach the altar to minister in the holy place, the set apart place, because that's what it is, so that they won't incur guilt and die. See? So they had to do and wear what he told them. Because when they were to approach him, when they were to draw near to him, if they didn't have the proper attire on, they're going to incur guilt, because you can't go into the tabernacle without the uniform and without the outfit. You need this on. If you didn't have it, then you're gone. You're going to die. You're going to incur guilt. Okay? So they had to bear these things, which brings me to my next point about what this is really talking about. Okay? That's found in our Haftarah that talks about consequences. If you read chapter number 44, or you begin 43, 44, you'll find that the Most High is talking about the tabernacle. He's talking about the temple, which is not like the tabernacle, meaning that it's made out of a building and it's made out of stones versus it being made from, goat hair. There's some differences there. And this is talking about the time when the Most High is going to bring the tabernacle, which is oddly that, I don't know if you guys have been watching the news or finding out, but this is the whole purpose of the Jews right now who are out there trying to fight that war. They got patches on their side of their outfits. They're talking about, we're going to go, and this is for the holy war for us to get our tabernacle built. That's what they've been told. So they're more than likely going to blow up that mosque over there. Forgot the name of it, over in Jerusalem. They're going to blow that up, and then they're going to be really ready to build the tabernacle. Okay? To try to fulfill what they would call prophecy. But my point today is to talk about the consequences. Okay? In your Haftarah, it says, rather the Leviim, which are the Levites, okay, who went far away from me when Israel went astray. Going astray after their idols, they will bear the consequences of their guilt. But they are to serve in my sanctuary. This is interesting because when we look at it, you and I were told that someone can come and they can cleanse you from all of your guilt and your consequences on everything. The fact of the matter is, everyone, the Most High is letting us know there's some things that will be atoned for, and there's some things that will never be atoned for. And I'm going to show that to you today. Okay. Some things that the children of Israel have done, the Most High said, you're going to bear that. You're going to bear the consequence of that. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what that word in Hebrew means in consequences. But basically, what he's saying is this is something that's always going to be, it's going to continue. Why? Because they went astray. They left the path. So there's a danger that's found within this, that if we go outside of the path the Most High has selected for us, right? After we have known what the path is, listen to me carefully. Let me just give you a clear example of what I'm talking about. You and I are on the path that Yah chose. You're on that path. You're here today. Okay. You have the right to leave the path. You can go. The Most High says it in Ezekiel all the time. You can leave the path. You can. But once you leave that path and something happens to you, you're going to bear the consequences of leaving. So you're not, it's like we were taught, well, you make a mistake and there's just, it'll be forgiven and all is good. That's not true. You make a mistake, you're going to bear the scars. You're going to bear the consequences of your actions. So here it says they're going to bear the consequences of their guilt. That means this is ongoing and this is in the future. So everything that they've done in the past, the Most High said, you're still going to bear that. Even though I'm still going to allow them to come and serve me, because I said that they would, they're going to bear some consequences for what they have done by going astray. And these are the family of the Levites who are chosen by the Most High to be the family that he chose to serve him. So there's a great danger. A lot of people want to be a Levite. They need to understand that there's consequences. Even if you are a Levite and you don't even know it, understand this, you're going to bear the consequences. And that's when they went astray. So in the future, you're still going to be bearing some guilt. Here's an example. Therefore, Yahweh Elohim of Israel says, I did indeed say that your family and your father's family would walk in my presence forever. That's what he said. But now Yahweh says, forget it. Forgive me for laughing. He said, forget it. I respect those who respect me. But those who despise me will meet with contempt. The day is coming when I will break your strength and the strength of your father's family, so that no one in your family will live to an old age. And guess who he's talking to? He's talking to Eli, which is a priest of the family of the Levite. He was a Kohen Hagadol. Okay. And what he was from the line of Eleazar. Okay. And the Most High said, yeah, I did tell your family they'll always walk and be in my presence forever, but this is what you've done. Right. And he's going to tell them, well, what did you do to cause this? But before we go, I want to show you that the Most High said that this is a punishment. No one in your family will live to an old age. And then he gives an example in that chapter that says, I'm going to kill both your sons today. And you're going to know that this is what I meant, because they were young when they died. And every one of those sons of those priests were going to die at an early age. And that was because of the actions of this man and because he failed to take action on his sons. Okay. That's a consequence that that family has to bear. Okay. Following chapter, he says, for I have told him that I will execute judgment. Now, the Most High in context is talking to Samuel when he's a little kid, and he's telling him, go deliver this message to the priest, the high priest, the Kohen Hagadol, like as if he was Aaron. Go tell him this is what I'm saying. So he said, I have told him that I will execute judgment, which, remember, the breastplate is for judgment, because the Most High is always going to execute judgment. He's always going to make decisions against people. So now he said, I'm going to execute judgment. I'm going to make I've made a decision against his family forever because of his wickedness is not rebuking his sons. So he says that this priest had some wickedness. Eli had some wickedness in him. That's not an error. That's not a mistake. That's not an oversight. Okay. And the wickedness was that he wouldn't rebuke his sons who were priests, who were in the service to the Most High. He wouldn't tell them the errors of their ways and their deliberate acts, not mistakes. Okay. If you read this chapter, or it talks about what they were doing, I don't want to get into it right now. It's a whole nother subject. And, I want you guys to read it for yourselves to find out what happened if you don't already know. But the bottom line is the Most High has determined that because the inability of this high priest, because he set this high priest and his family over all Israel, over his people. So if the high priest is messing up and he's acting in wickedness, and his sons who are supposed to be serving on behalf of the children of Israel, because that's their purpose and that's their job, if they're doing things that are wrong, the people then would get a sense that it's okay for them to do it too. So now, because of this, you're not rebuking your sons, even though he knew that he had brought a curse on themselves. Therefore, I have sworn to the family of Eli, okay, what they call Eli, that the wickedness of Eli's family will never be atoned for. Never be atoned for by any sacrifice or offering. That's a consequence of what? Inability to be, take action and to correct your family. Okay. And that's what we should learn from this. Okay. So, well, I'm not a priest, Akika, so, this doesn't apply to me. Well, there's a whole bunch of other examples that I can give you that can show you that if you and I cross the Most High, the results of what we do can be passed on to our family and our descendants. So the actions that you're taking right now can either be beneficial to your family or it can be problematic for your family. This is what we need to understand. Yeah, all souls belong to Yah. So what about the souls that were after his sons? Because his sons had sons. But he's saying, yeah, your family's going to continue, but they're not going to live long. And I've already made a decision against your family. And so no one can change this. Okay. So there's no atonement for any sacrifice or offering for this. And what are you talking about, Akika? Yahweh is telling us that guess what? If there's a certain amount of wickedness that you have, there's something that you're doing against what against the tabernacle, more specifically. Yah says there cannot be any atonement for any sacrifice for this because Eli's family is supposed to be on the highest level of all Israel. So how does that apply to a person who's not all Israel? Well, the highest family and the highest standard is the priesthood. So if they're messing up the people, that gave them a reason. If you read in Jeremiah, it talks about how the priests were doing. The Most High said they were doing damage, and they're the ones who abandoned the Torah. They're the ones who caused the people to go astray. Was the leaders. So this is what has happened then, and this is what's happening now. When you get a whole bunch of people who are claiming to be priests, and they're doing wickedness, and they're not doing the things according to the way the Most High has prescribed, that's written for us, then that's wickedness, and they will be facing the charges. This is one of the reasons why I don't call myself a Kohen or a priest or any of those things, because I know that guess what? There's a registry, there's a way that's supposed to be here. There's supposed to be, you have to be verified, you have to be authenticated in order to be over the Most High's people collectively as his nation. If you try to do this outside of that, you're bringing judgment on yourself. So you just can't wash it off. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And that's what the Most High has said, that there's no sacrifice for these things. Okay. Again, there's an idea of continually bearing something. The Most High is going to cause you and I to be paid back for our deeds. Okay. Plenty of places where I can show you, but here Dawid says that pay them back for their deeds as befits their evil acts and repay them for what they have done. Give them what they deserve. Okay. Give them what they deserve. I want to stop right there and deal with that. Okay. You're only going to receive what you deserve. And what do I mean by that? Whatever work that you and I are putting in right now into our lives, and whatever is in your life right now is what you deserve. That's exactly what you deserve. You're only getting what you deserve. So you have a field, you've been planting things, you have some fruits and some vegetables, and then you get half, you get a little bit, you don't get a full harvest, right? So the Most High is letting us know through Dawid that guess what? Whatever you plant, whatever you sow, that's what you're going to reap. Whatever work you put in, that's what you're going to get. You're not going to get any more than that. Okay. If you do evil acts, you're going to get what is deserving for those acts because Yah is fair. That's judgment. That's decisions. That is just. They don't understand the deeds of Yahweh or what he has done, right? So there's a contrast that's being made between them being paid for what they have done and what Yahweh has done, okay? What he's talking about, the deeds of Yahweh, is the deeds of bringing us out um, of our slavery and inviting us and introducing us into a way of life that would help us to have better yields. Okay, so I want to use that word right quick. Um, it's better yields. Okay, a better harvest. Okay, that's what he's after. He's after getting us better yields, giving us more increase because that goes along with who he is. Okay, so when we talk about this, the people who are not doing what the Most High says, okay, they're still going to get a yield. They're not going to get what they think they're going to get. They're going to get what they deserve, which would be to be broken down and tore down. Why? Because there's no yield, not the way the Yah wants. For example, if he wants us to bring forth a thousandfold and we're only bringing out 10 out of our field, then it's time for that to be broken down. There's no use for you. You understand? So if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're not learning what you're supposed to be learning, then you're going to be torn down. That's what's going to happen. The understanding that is mentioned right here, as I briefly talked about earlier in the presentation, is the fact that understanding comes from Yah. It's a gift, and understanding means to build, right? That's what it means. So this is in contrast to him saying he will not build them up. He's going to tear them down. He won't build them up. Why? Because they don't understand. They don't have any bina. Okay, bina is to understand, to build. You need wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to build something, right? Understanding comes from skill. You know how to move. You know how to look at things. You make assessments. You do measurements. You understand these things. So the people who lack understanding, right? They're going to do what they would call evil acts because they really don't know Yah's deeds. Yah's deeds is giving us the Torah so we can receive understanding. Okay. And depending on how much time you spend with him determines, well, how much of an understanding you get. Now, all of us are not going to be at, like I said, a full measure of an understanding, but at least if you have some obedience, the Most High will or reveal to you or uncover your eyes. And so you can be able to see. Okay. So this is what the writer was talking about. And then all of a sudden, what does he say? Blessed be Yahweh, for he has heard my voice as I prayed for mercy, which is kindness. So what he did is he recognized in this in particular psalm, he recognizes the fact that the people who are evil in doing that, they're not going to get away with it. They're going to receive something. They're going to get what they deserve. And as a result, he's telling them that Yah is going to break you down. And the reason why that's going to happen is because you chose not to understand. Understanding comes from people who are humble, right? Understanding is for someone who would want to build something. That's why understanding is given. So you can build. So what is Yah telling us? I want to build you. I want you to be builded up. But if you're not doing what I'm telling you, you're still going to get something, but it's not going to be what you think it is. Okay. The idea of bearing. Okay. Your Haftarah, you found out that there's an idea of transmission. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. It says, before going out to the people in the outer courtyard, they are to remove the clothes in which they minister. They're going to lay them in the holy, set apart rooms and and put on other clothes. Okay. So that they won't transmit holiness to the people by the means of their clothing. So you're telling me that clothing can be considered holy? Yes. So the garments that were made for Aaron and his sons, going back to our Torah portion, they were sprinkled with blood, and they also had the holy anointing oil on them, which sanctified their bodies when they were coming near to the Most High. Okay. So they wouldn't die. All right. So holiness can be transmitted through the idea from only, listen to me carefully, only the priesthood, only them. Okay. So these people have been designated to be holy, but the holiness is through their clothing. I want you to hear what I'm saying. It's their clothes. Okay. Right. So outside of Aaron being in his regular clothes outside of the tabernacle, okay, he doesn't possess that holiness that he does when he's in that temple. Do you understand? He still remember, because if he did, there would never have to be an atonement made for him in his house, him and his house. So Aaron had the ability to become unclean, just like so he's human. He could become unclean, right? So this holiness here is something that can be transmitted. So what is holiness? Holiness, or what you would call set apartness, or what you call kadosh, can be transmitted through clothing. The clothes that they're in are called linen. I don't have a slide for it, but we know that linen has a frequency. Okay. Sister Sharon, are you online? Yeah.
Yes, I'm on.
All right. So while I'm talking right quick, go on and you go look up what linen's frequency is and come back
Okay.
and tell us.
Okay.
And what is the difference? And is it the highest? And what does it mean? Okay. So the reason why the Most High has chosen linen, everyone, and Sister Sharon's going to come back with this information so you can see it's coming from a third party to verify what I'm saying, okay, is that it's only capable of transmitting this holiness. So wool is not able to transmit holiness, okay? Listen to me. Everything had to be made out of linen for these individuals, okay? So what can you and I, take from this? We can take a few things. We can say, well, the holiness of Aharon is for him and his family. And that's what Yah has made for them. Okay. Well, you and I are supposed to learn from them. We're supposed to get some context clues. We're supposed to know that, wait a minute, if Yah's decided to use linen to saying that's the only material that they can wear when they're in close proximity to him, then could you and I wear linen and be holy? No. You and I cannot wear linen to be holy. What you and I can wear linen is to get the benefits of linen. There's a lot
Okay.
of, okay. You ready, Sister Sharon? Tell us about a little bit about linen.
Okay. Linen's crystalline structure creates a high frequency vibration of 5,000 to 8,000 hertz, which is associated with healing, wellness, and energetic balance.
You hear that? You guys hear that? So we can learn from our Torah portion. This is why I have linen sheets. This is why I sleep in linen. Okay. Because it has healing properties. And there was a special that was done on it where people talked about back in the early 1900s, they used to wrap in the hospitals. It was nothing but linen in the hospitals until the Rothschilds or whoever it was that came along and took all the linen out and put cotton in there. So they switched it out. And that's why the people are not healing the way they used to, because they removed the linen. Okay. The linen is not holy. The linen is able to hold the holiness because of his properties. Okay. Because of his frequency. So Yah's giving us some context clues to telling us that linen is a frequency that's high enough to be able to hold holiness. Okay. Just like the color Tekalit that we talked about last week has a frequency. All colors have a frequency. All materials have a frequency. All fruits have a frequency. All foods have a frequency. Okay. So all these things that the Most High is saying, gold has a certain frequency. It's a great conductor for energy. That's why I told you last week that it was a communication device. Okay. So there's a lot of power in holiness, and it can be transmitted. Okay. Remember, it's so powerful that if you don't have the right clothes on that have been sanctified by the Most High, you could die. Okay. But this is not just for the average person. That's my point. We're talking about the priesthood. We're talking about the people who are going in on our behalf. And there are going to be priests in our temple when we go back to our land. This is not going away. Okay. So the Most High is giving us some information about what the temple is going to be and what the service is going to be, what the clothing is going to be. Okay. And he wants them to take it off so they don't transmit this holiness to the people through their clothing. You see? Not that you can't wear linen. You can wear linen. Actually, like I said, I have linen clothes. I have linen, pretty much everything I'm trying to get because I understand it. So this is another part that I want to bring out. So we're talking about the holiness, and we're talking about, the set apartness about the Most High that could be transmitted. Okay. So here's an idea that came across when I was doing my study this week. It says, here's what Yahweh Zavaoth says. Ask the Kohanim, which is ask the priest. He said, ask the priesthood. This is found in the book of Kagai, or what they call Haggai. Okay, he's one of the minor prophets. It's only 2 chapters. You can read it today. It's only 2 chapters. You'll enjoy it. But these are some excerpts that are taken from it. It says, here's what Yahweh Zavaoth says. Ask the priest, ask the Kohanim, what the Torah says about this. And the Torah is the instructions. Ask them about this. He says, if someone carries meat that has been set aside as kadosh, or set apart, or holy, in a fold of his cloak, meaning his clothing, and then he lets his clothing or his cloak touch bread, stew, wine, olive oil, other foods, does that food become holy or kadosh too? Meaning, does it become set apart? The Kohanim answered Kagai, the prophet, and said, no. This is a question the Most High is telling Kagai to ask the priest. Go ask them. Does something become holy because the meat, okay, the meat is holy, not the garment. Listen to me carefully. The meat is holy, okay? So he took something holy and he set apart and he put it in a fold of his garment, his clothing. And then all of a sudden that garment touched a piece of bread, it touched stew, it touched olive oil, it touched any of these other things. It's asking, do any of these things right here become holy? And the answer to that is no. And when they gave their answer, that was true. That was true, okay? The word for true, or the word for yes, okay, or something is true, or something that is established, comes from this word right here. And you hear it all the time. Like if I ask you a question, I ask Sister Azanya something. I say, Sister Azanya, did you do this? And she say, Cain. That's how you spell it, Cain. Okay, K-E-N, Cain. Cain. Let me put the little right here. Cain means yes. That's what it means. It means yes, this is true. Yeah, I agree. Yep, Cain. Okay, so Cain. So Cain means to be established. Okay, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about this when we continue. I just want to let you know. So here he says no, right? Not that it's not true, but what he's saying that in context of this, of something being set apart, because the meat has been set apart, but not the fold of his clothes. He says, could everything that clothing touched, can that be kadosh? And the answer is no. And that right there is true. That's Cain. Yeah, that's true. Okay. That's been established. The next question was this. Then Haggai asked, if someone who is unclean from having had contact with a corpse touches any of these food items, they will become unclean. The Kohanim answered, meaning the priest answered, they will, or they become unclean. Excuse me. Okay, they become unclean. So we got 2 different scenarios. We got the meat, and then we have someone who touched a dead body. So the question was, if anybody who came in contact with a dead body and they touched any of these things that you have over here, will those things become unclean? And the answer was, they will become unclean. So that's established, okay? Not to make this confusing, but let's see what the Most High says. Most High says through Kagai, then he said, this that this is the condition of this people, that this is the condition of this nation before me, says Yahweh, and that this is the condition of everything their hands produce, so that anything they offer there is unclean. So I'm going to take the time to break this out for us, okay? I'm going to do it nice and slow. The reason why the Most High is asking the priests these questions, these Kohanim, okay, is because they're the only ones who know the difference between clean and unclean. They're the only ones who understand the law or the Torah or the instructions about what is clean and unclean. Okay? So what this does is shuts everybody else out. Okay? That shuts Akika out. That shuts all the other people who claim that they're, whoever. I don't care about us being teachers. I don't care about me knowing. I don't care about none of this. Because the bottom line is Yahweh has only shared this part of the Torah when it has to do with clean and unclean with the priest. I'm not qualified to tell you what's clean and unclean outside of what the Most High has already said. So we know when we read Leviticus chapter number 11, he tells us what's clean and unclean there. Okay. When we read Deuteronomy chapter number 14, he tells us what's clean and unclean. When we read about, chapter number 18 of the book of Leviticus, it talks about some of the acts that makes you clean and unclean. Yeah, we can read those things, okay? But even in our reading, we still have some misunderstandings because we don't have the full understanding of the Torah from Yahweh's perspective, because there is no priesthood. There's no Kohanim to determine this. There's been no one that the Most High has anointed that can tell you or I what is clean and unclean. Okay. So what does this mean? We're eating food right now. And we're thinking, well, because it's not on the list of Leviticus 11, or it doesn't meet the requirements of Deuteronomy, or meets the requirements of Deuteronomy 14, then I'm good. I'm clean. And the food I'm eating is clean. I got bad news for you. Anything that you and I touch, and I hope you don't take this too far. Okay. My whole purpose of sharing this is not for you to go bananas. It's just to bring everything to its proper understanding so we can establish the truth, because that's what I want to do. Okay. Establishing the truth is this. You and I have to understand what our condition is. Okay. This is the reason why this was mentioned. Because if you don't understand that where you are and what you're doing, you would think that you're clean. And you would think that what you're doing is acceptable to the Most High. Then that would kind of distort your idea about what is acceptable and what's not going to be acceptable. And that's what's happened to us and happened to the people that are still in Christianity and all these other false religions. Okay. Because they don't really understand these concepts. Okay. As your brother, I'm here to dig deep and find out what it is that we need to understand together. I'm in this with you. You're not alone in this. Okay. You have to be honest, and we have to establish what condition are we in. Because if we don't recognize our condition, then of course we're going to be going on false hopes, and we're going to have false narratives, and we're going to believe lies. Okay. The word Cain that you have up here is consistent of two letters. The first letter is a Kof. Okay. That letter right there is the palm of one's hand. Okay. P-A-L-M. That's your palm. Okay. And the next letter is called the Nun, right? And so when I look at this letter right here, that's called a final Nun, but really what it looks like is this, okay? And this is when it's on the end of a word. That's what it looks like. But basically what it means is a seed, okay? So what they would do is they put a seed, and this is coming from a Hebrew agricultural setting. They would take the seed and they would put it in the palm of their hand, okay? They would take the seed, put it in the palm of the hand. They would look at it to find out what it is. What type of seed is this? Is this a cabbage seed? Is this a carrot seed? Is this a squash seed? They would have to be able to recognize it, okay? Once they recognize what it is, they wouldn't plant it next to certain other seeds, because some seeds work good together and some seeds don't, right? In terms of how they can manage the water and which one grows fastest, what root system. So what it is that what they would do is they would plant the seed after looking at it. They would say, okay, well, let's plant it. Okay, so they'll plant the seed. Here's the ground. I'm going to use the color red right here to be the plant of the seed. They'll take the seed and they'll plant it. Okay, the seed is underneath the ground, and then all of a sudden the seed opens up. Okay, the seed pops open and it starts growing. Okay, it starts popping open and it grows. Okay, once it comes up to the surface, I should change that color. It begins to grow. Okay, comes out. Right. That's what it does. It starts growing. Okay. And depending on what type of seed will determine what it's going to be, what type of fruit it is, what type of vegetable it is, whatever it is. All right. So the idea behind this word meaning yes, because this is what Cain means. Cain means yes or to be established. What is talking about being established is its base. The base of this plant is its root. This is the foundation, right? This is the foundation of everything. Forgive my drawing. Right here, that's the root. And so the root takes hold and it starts growing, okay? And it makes the ground firm, right? So if this is firm and it takes root down into the ground and goes deep, then the green part, which is the stem, will start growing and it would be able to handle, because of its firmness in the ground, it can grow very, very tall, okay? Right? Now we have a base, meaning that it's established. Okay. So what the Most High is telling us is that, well, the condition of this people and what's true and what's firm and what is established and what's the absolute certainty about this people is that you and I are in a state of what they would call uncleanness. That's what you and I are in. This is what we're in. We're in uncleanness. Okay. And that's because you and I have been planted in a place of uncleanness. All the teachings that we received have been contaminated. All of the food that you're eating is contaminated. All the clothing that you and I have has been contaminated. Everything. And we don't get to just wash it off. Okay. All the idolatry, the moment that you spoke the name of another God, you've been contaminated. We didn't understand what it means to be really kadosh, to be set apart for Yah. Being set apart for Yah is something that's not only spiritual, but it's also physical. It's physical. The tabernacle of Yah and the temple of Yah is not just spiritual. It has spiritual elements to it, but it's really physical. So when he says, you're going to die, you come in here, it's physical. You're going to die. Okay. So what he's saying is, once this seed is planted, it opens. And once it's open, it establishes a base or a foundation to work from. And that's what causes it to stand or to become firm. And that's when you say something is firm or something is true, then that's why we say Cain, meaning yes. That's the answer. Okay. So our condition at this moment is uncleanness because everything that we touch and everything that we've been around has been contaminated. So if you're going around saying that you're kadosh and saying that you're holy, you're not telling the truth. Your idea of being holy and set apart is you have a misunderstanding, because the level that Yah is talking about is greater than what we've been told. And the only way that we can ever come back to being completely kadosh and completely set apart is when we're back in our land, when we're planted back in our land. Okay. Right now, we've been mixed with the nations. And not only have we mixed with them just from living with them, but a lot of our people have integrated into the families of these other people, which is again unclean, which is again is an abomination to the Most High. You see? So what he's saying to us, like he said to them, this is the condition. And if you read this chapter, you'll find out because this was their condition, he said that I don't want you to touch anything anything that you touch is going to be unclean. So at that moment, they were trying to rebuild the foundation of the tabernacle, or what you would say the temple at that time. And so the Most High was telling them, nothing's working out well for you guys, and you never consider why it's not working. It's not working for you because you're not in the proper condition. You're not in a place of cleanness. You're in a place of uncleanness. That's what this is about. So when we talk about being kadosh, kadosh is a controlled environment. The temple is a controlled environment. The tabernacle was a controlled environment. You see? And so when we're trying to change this, then we're introducing things to our understanding that the Most High has never intended for us. And then that can get us off of the path and that can lead us astray. And then we'll end up having to bear the consequences of that. So it's not like we just can make these mistakes and then we can say, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Well, okay, well, you made an error, you didn't know, but that doesn't mean you're not going to face the consequences. That's the point. You know, I didn't know. I didn't know that, if you had something with high saturated fat, that it affect, your bloodstream. I didn't know that, your vessels. I didn't know that. I didn't know what sugar can do, but even though I didn't know it and I made a mistake and I did that, I'm still going to bear the consequences of it. So we can't do things and think we're going to escape. That's my point. And that's what Yah is teaching through this prophet, telling us this is what it is. Okay. So holiness can be, transmitted through the priest, through that. Uncleanness is transmitted through having contact. And this is the beauty of the Torah, is because the Torah opens your eyes, your understanding to what the Most High is saying. Okay, to give you an understanding so you won't commit evil acts and wickedness, right? Like the priest was doing because he failed to recognize what needed to be changed. What it was is that his sons were making, they were turning the place that was supposed to be set apart into, I would say, a brothel. And they were mixing the common with the uncommon. Okay. They were taking the things that were supposed to be pure and sanctified and they were making them ordinary. Okay. So when we're in the land that we're in right now, we're doing the Shabbat. We read in our Torah portion that, hey, these are the offerings that I want you to make to me every day during the week. And then here's what I want you to do on the Shabbat. So we don't have those offerings that are supposed to be made on Shabbat. And that's just the fact. Okay. And they have to be made by the priest. So why introduce us to the Shabbat? And why would he tell us that I want you to not do in terms of being able to carry out everything he's saying? Yah has asked us to listen to what I'm saying. He knows that you and I won't be able to do everything. He knows that you and I won't be able to pull off being set apart in the place of our enemies. You can read in Ezekiel where he talked about when the children of Israel go into exile, they're going to eat defiled bread when they're among there. So let's don't play the game with ourselves to say that we're kadosh and that we're not unclean, but we're clean. We're not clean, people. And we'll learn this too next week where he talks about, I got to bring you out and I got to wash you. I have to cleanse you. See, these people that he's talking to right now in Kagai, his name actually means festive, means festival. It comes from the word Kag. That's where his name comes from, Kag, a Kate and a Gamel, which meaning a festival. That's the letters of his name. Yes.
So, what is the Most High when he says in Yeshayahu 1, he goes, wash you, make yourself clean.
Mhm.
So, that just refers to the putting away of evil. And this is another level of it, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So remember, and I want to be clear, the holiness that I'm referring to right now is different than the holiness that we achieved when he told us, go wash your clothes, because on the third day, I'm going to come and see you. So when Moshe told him to go wash your clothes, this is in Exodus chapter number 19, that word is called kadosh, to set apart. So I told you there's different levels. This is the highest level. This is the highest level of being set apart. Okay. And it's through that family. Okay. So if we don't have this level, this is what I'm trying to get you to understand. I'm not trying to isolate us from Yah. What I'm trying for us to understand is that let's establish what the highest level is in order to be able to approach the Most High. That's the level that he wants, because that's the level that we will dwell with. He'll dwell with us when it's on this level. He'll live with us when it's on this level. He won't live with us when we're in an unclean place. He'll talk to us. He'll give us instruction through his word he says, listen to my voice, that he says in Deuteronomy chapter number 30. But the level of being set apart here that we're reading about is not an ordinary level of being set apart. This is the highest level. That's why we need to establish it. So when someone's coming and tell you that they're at you, when someone says that I'm holy, like the Christians do, you're going to say, okay, well, what level are you on? They'll be like, what? What level? What you talking about? There's levels to it. You understand? There's a level, there's a certain degree of levelness of holiness. Aaron and his family had to keep the ultimate level of it because they're Kohanim. They've been set apart. They don't have any inheritance. Yah says, I am their inheritance. He didn't say that to the children of Israel. He said that to that family. He said that to the family, the tribe of Levi, that they belong to me. I'm the one. So when you read Psalms and it says that you chose us, and some of these Psalms are written by these priests, they're not talking about, all 12 tribes. They're talking about themselves, the ones that you've selected to draw near unto you. And that level, we're drawing. Okay. So look, remember he says, and I'm going to go back right here because I don't want to confuse anybody. I'm trying to get us to get an understanding. Do you remember he said that here, where am I? Consecrating people. Okay. He says Aaron and his sons are to wear them, talking about the clothing, when they approach the altar. Okay. They're there to approach the altar on behalf of the children of Israel. So we need that family in order to approach Yah. So we can get our gifts and our consecrated things by the people of Israel to use them to bring it to Yah, because Yah says, I'm going to use this family. That's the purpose of the priesthood. For Yah to be able to live with us, he has to have this family in place. And they have to be of the highest order. Otherwise, they will die. Okay? If they're not in what he commanded, and they're not wearing what he said, and they're not doing what he said, they're not following the instructions, they're going to incur guilt and they're going to die. And he's talking about Aaron and his sons. And that's not just them. He's talking about any generations of these priests. Okay? So I'm just being clear that there are levels of being set apart with the Most High. And there are consequences that you and have read about. Okay? So, because Yah is going to give us what we deserve. So in this case, again, talking about what has been established, he's letting these people know that when they just came out of their exile, they didn't go through the process of being sanctified, and they were trying to build the temple, and they were putting stones. And the Most High said, haven't you guys noticed that nothing is working out? You planted this, but this only came out. Because why? Because they failed to recognize that you have to, when you're dealing with Yah, it's going to have to be in a way that is going to be acceptable. It's going to have to be kadosh. Okay. Well, why are we reading if we're not going to be kadosh? So what's the purpose of coming to class? Why are you teaching me about these things if I have no control over them? They're being taught and they're being discussed because the Most High is giving us context clues about you should know where you're at. You should know that you're not clean, because that'd change your mindset. Your desire will be, instead of saying, well, I'm clean and I'm fine right now, you have a greater desire to say, Yah, bring us back to our land and come and live with us and establish your priesthood. Establish your tabernacle, your temple among us, so you can live among us. Establish family back in line again. I don't have a slide because I didn't want to overwhelm you, but go to Jeremiah chapter number 33. It'll tell you that family will always have someone stand before me to minister before me. They're always going to have someone. And so when they're with us, okay, and they're in the land, we are going to be able to be taught by them. So here it is, teaching. That's their job. You can see this in Deuteronomy chapter number 30, I think it's 33, where he says the Levites are the ones that I chose to teach the children of Israel. They're the ones who are supposed to teach us. And what are they going to teach us? They're going to teach us the difference. He says they are to teach my people the difference between holy, which is set apart, or kadosh, and common, and enable them to distinguish between clean, which is purity, and unclean, which is impurity. The only people that will be able to teach us this are these priests. Those are the only ones. I can't teach us this because I'm not a priest. I can't teach us this because I haven't been anointed. I can't teach us this because I haven't had the holy anointing oil that has a certain formula. I can't teach us this because there is no altar. So when I make a mistake, I can get rid of the guilt. You understand? No one can teach us this but this family. And when you and I accept this, we won't be looking for anyone else to teach us these things. I'm not teaching you the difference between common and uncommon. I'm not teaching you that. We're reviewing what their job is. So we'll know where we're at and what are we learning, okay? So I can spiritualize this. So, well, you know, we're teaching is the number one thing. No, who is supposed to be teaching us? No one else here can teach us this. I don't care if they have a meeting place. I don't care how many people they have there. I don't care what their outfits look like. I don't care if they know how to speak Hebrew. I don't care if they have a Torah scroll that's worth $300,000 that's behind a curtain. They cannot teach you this. You sound like an enemy of the people. No, I'm telling you what the Most High has said. They are to teach my people the difference between holy, which is set apart, and common. Because if you read that chapter, what his people were doing, which he calls a bunch of rebels, when they had a temple, everyone, they were building buildings next to his temple. And they were burying their dead in those buildings, like what do they call it? Not a cemetery, but what they call it when the people are inside of the little crypts, a moratorium. They're having a moratorium with dead kings. And he rebuked them for doing this because nothing's supposed to be attached to him. That's what he's saying. Read the chapter. He did tell you. Okay. So am I here to discourage us? No, I'm here to tell us the truth. This is what we are to learn and to understand. So when he talks about teaching, let's deal with that. The word teaching has to do with the word Torah. Okay. And the word Torah has a root that has to do with water and has to do with a flow. It has to do with how water flows. Okay. Or when someone's pointing their finger in a direction that one should go, meaning where it's flowing. Or, instructions, right? Teaches us how the instructions are supposed to go. Okay. So when you talk about teaching, teaching has to do with the idea of flow. It says, keep my Shabbats and revere my sanctuary. That's Leviticus chapter number 26. Keep my Sabbaths and revere my sanctuary. I am Yahweh. If you live by my regulations and observe my mitzvot, meaning my commandments, and obey them, then I will provide the rain you need in its season. The land will yield its produce, and the trees in the field will yield their fruit. Why? Because Yahweh is directing and pointing the rain down on the land. Rain comes down in a pattern. When the winds blow, it can go in this direction and it can hit down from the sky, from the clouds, and then it hits the ground. Okay? Pointing it. So the Most High has associated learning with rain. Okay? So you're being watered. You're being pointed in a direction. It's flowing. So the idea of teaching is a flow. It's like water. So if the water stops flowing, then there's no teaching. If it stops, that's it. You're not getting nothing. You're not being benefited. And because you don't have any benefit, you don't have any flow, then you're not going to have any yield. The more water you get, the more satisfied the land's going to become, the more you're going to be able to yield. Just like going back to our idea that says, hey, you get what you deserve. You're only going to get what you deserve. So no rain, no yield. Okay. No teaching, no results. That's what the bottom line is. So, like I said, I don't know everything. And I'm not copping out. I'm just telling you the truth. That might not be good enough for some of us. Some of us might need someone to tell them that they're doing everything that Elohim says and tell them everything is 100% good to go. And you're kadosh, and forget about what Kika is talking about. He don't know what he's talking about. What he's trying to do is he's trying to discourage the people. No, I'm not trying to discourage the people. I'm telling the people the truth. The level that I'm talking about is a higher level. So the offerings that were supposed to be brought to the Most High, teruma is room, meaning to be brought and exalted. It takes an elevated mind to understand these things. That we're not going to put common things among the Most High because we know that where we are right now is unclean. What about this teaching? It says, but this is a people. This people has a rebellious and defiant heart. They have rebelled and gone. They don't say to themselves, let's fear Yahweh. Our Elohim gives us the fall and spring rains in season, who reserves for us the weeks assigned for harvest. Going back to the yield. So in the book of Jeremiah, the Most High says that these people are rebellious and are defiant because they don't understand the teaching. If they understood the teaching, they would know what the Most High says, that if you would do what I tell you, going back to what we're saying, if you live by my regulations and observe my commandments and obey them, then I'll give you the rain. So then he says, well, because these people are not listening and obeying and doing what I'm telling them, they're rebels. And in their minds, they've gone because they don't say to themselves, right? Let's fear Yahweh. Fear is connected to the word Torah, teaching. You understand? So he's the one who gives us the physical fall and spring rains. So there's a spiritual application, there's a physical application. You understand? So it's directly connected to us. So while we're in the lands of our enemies right now, you may ask, well, I thought I was living by his laws, his statutes, and the commandments. No, we're not living by his laws, his statutes, and commandments. We're listening to his laws, statutes, and commandments. And you and I are doing the best that we can, but the best that we can is not good enough. It won't be accepted. Then why are we doing it? What are we waiting for then? You're waiting for Yah to see whether or not you have the mindset that said, if I could do it, I would. If I was in my land, I would do this. So what is he doing? He's prepping us right now to see whether or not you and I have a desire to even attempt to do it. You know you can't keep the Shabbat the way that he wants, but are you willing to sit down when you can? Yes. Are you willing to prep your food? Yes. So Yah's looking at the intent at this particular moment. While in our exiles, our ancestors would not even try to even attempt to do what he says. You see? So you and I right now, I'm keeping it 100 with you. We are not doing exactly what he says. And we cannot do it until we get into our land. We cannot fully understand the difference between clean and unclean until those priests are put in order to show us on how to do it when he's living among us. But this is the best part. Because only a prideful person would say, well, I can't do it correctly all the way, when you know he told you at this moment you're not going to. So they said, because I can't do it all the way, I'm not going to do it at all. That's a prideful person. The humble person says, you know what, I can't do it. I've given my best ability. I'm under the, I'm in slavery right now to these people at my job, but I'm going to do the best I can. I'm still going to honor the Most High that I know. I know I'm asking the Most High for mercy. I'm asking him for compassion. That's why David just said what he said in Psalms 28 when he said that, you're going to pay people back what they deserve. But I prayed to the Most High. He heard my prayer because I wanted him to show me mercy. You and I don't have a land at this moment, right? So because we're not in our land, people say I can't keep the commandments. The commandments are for the land. That's not the reason why the Most High sent us in exile. He sent us into exile because we were rebellious and because we wouldn't listen to him. And he didn't send us here. He sent us here to worship their gods. So you can show the difference between him and them. He sent you here to serve strangers. He sent you here so your families would be minimized. He sent you here so there'll be chaos and confusion. He sent us here so he can get our attention. He sent us here to punish us and chasten us and to correct us so we can find out which one of you will listen to what I'm saying, even though you don't have the ability to fully carry it out. Not trying to discourage us. I'm telling us the truth. Hear, O heavens, as I speak, and listen, earth, to the words from my mouth. May my teaching fall like rain. This is Moshe talking to the children of Israel. The Most High told him to sing this song. These are the opening words to the song that he said, teach the children of Israel this song, so in the final days they can remember that this song will be a testimony against him, that they turn their backs on me. May my speech condense like dew, like light rain on blades of grass, or showers on growing plants, for I will proclaim the name of Yahweh. Come, declare the greatness of our Elohim. And what's he talking about? He's talking to the heavens and to the earth. And he's singing this song that he's asking them to remember, because they're going to be the witnesses against us that we did not listen. See? But teaching is like rain. That's what it's like. Okay? It's a flow. In conclusion, Yah says this: there is where I will meet with you to speak with you. He's talking to Moshe. Okay? Talking about at the tent of meeting. Okay? The idea of him meeting with you or Moshe at this point, in the Hebrew, it says, I have agreed to meet with you. So there has to be an agreement. Okay? I've agreed to meet with you and to speak with you. So this is an honor to be able to have the Most High meet with us or meet with him at this moment to speak with him. He said, there I will meet with the people of Israel. Not just Moshe, I'm going to meet with them too. And the place will be consecrated by my glory. I will consecrate the tent of meeting. Listen to all the I wills. I will meet, I will do this, I will consecrate the tent of meeting and the altar. Not them. I will. They just had to follow his instructions, even though they don't understand it. Even though they understand, well, why are you killing a bull, and why are you killing 2 rams and taking his liver and his kidneys and the fat of those and burn all up? But you took the bull and you put it outside and you burned that all the way up, but you didn't burn these ones up. You burned them up on the altar. Why? He didn't give them instructions why he told them to do that. He's just telling them, this is what I asked you to do. And that's exactly what he's telling us to do. You don't have to understand why. Not right now. You just do what I told you to do. Likewise, I will consecrate Aharon and his sons to serve me in the office of Kohen, meaning priest. Yah's the one who does this, not any man. Most High has done this. Then I will live with the people of Israel and be their Elohim. That's in context of us having a place where the Most High can live. See? And they will know that I am Yahweh their Elohim, Ki Anoki Yahweh Eloheka, right? Who brought them out of the land of Egypt in order to live with them. So the whole purpose of us leaving out of the land of Egypt was Yah to make his residence with us. That's the whole plan. It wasn't just to give us commandments. It was to live with us and for him to be our Elohim and for him to share his wisdom, his knowledge, his understanding with us. But it's going to be on his terms. There's no other way for us to meet with Yah outside of what has already been established. There's no other way to get to the Most High. There's no other family that he's chose except for this family. And if you and I are looking for someone else, then you and I are not listening to what he said. There's no other people who can be consecrated like them. No one. Judah can never be consecrated like them. Asher, Naphtali, none of them. No other, Joseph, Ephraim, Manasseh, I don't care who they are. They'll never be consecrated like the family of Levi or the Leviim. And that's what we need to understand. Okay? So that is what this was all about for this week. It was very short. It's just a few chapters, but I wanted to bring those key points out to us that this is a whole nother level. This is not, hey, just take a bath and, sprinkle some blood. No, Yah says, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the one who's going to do this because I want to live with you. So that's what this is about. Okay. Any questions that anyone has, or any comments or contributions? I don't want to discourage anybody. Yes, Emiya.
Thank you for the message, Akika. Quick question. I just wanted to understand I suppose, where we have Samuel, who comes from the line of Ephraim, and his mother obviously offered him to Eli, and he was able to be a judge, a priest, and I suppose a teacher as well. I just wanted to understand why we have this anomaly, because if we know that the Levites will always be the priest, but looking at Samuel, he didn't come from that line, and yet he was able to do all these things and more.
That's a great
Hallelujah.
question. Yeah, that's a good question. What I know is that the family that he comes from, his father's Elkanah, right? That was the name of his father. Correct?
Yes, and he comes from the line of Ephraim, I believe. Yes.
All right, so let's go to First Chronicles right quick. Let me show you. We'll answer some questions, everyone. Stay on, don't go anywhere. Let's get this. Let me thank all of you who sharing your time live on